Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lake Advisory Board to order. If we could please stand for the flag salute followed by the opening prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bow your heads, most holy and heavenly Father. Before you ask me for your blessing. A blessing upon the residents of Bergen County and the city of Fort Scott, all the volunteers who work so hard for our community. We thank you for this board that gathers on a regular basis that makes good, solid, sound, and strong efforts and strong commitments to making Fort Scott and the lake a better place to live and reside, the best place for our community. Lord, we thank you for all of our health and happiness. We ask that you guide us throughout our day. Please allow everyone to arrive home safely. And please guide the kids to be out trick-or-treating on the street today. We ask these blessings in Jesus' name.
Amen. Lisa, please let the roll call reflect that all members present, with the exception of Dave Stewart and Harold Martin. I'm looking for approval of the September 17th meeting minutes. Motion to approve. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Motion and second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Let the record show unanimous approval. Safety update, Tom Graham.
Good morning. We had a great, safe year at the lake this year. We had no wrecks.
Knock on wood.
Drownings.
Knock on wood.
Can you hear it?
I can hear it. I was just knocking on wood.
Oh, right. The people that are working on the lake, Randy and his team, are doing a wonderful job. The lake looks good every day. And the water is very low, so we have to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
And they have pushed up the wood pile, so it's just about ready to burn. And each year we burn that and start over again. So far it's been a good one, and we'll stay where we are.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom, anyone? Questions about anything at all? All right. Under new business, we have a lake valve update, and Matt or Jeff, with Jeff on. And when I say lake valve update, that's let's say that's encompassing the standpipe, the valve, the cover over the inlet, anything you want to talk about.
Jeff, do you want to address that?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm the expert. I thought Doug was supposed to be here, but
Doug is here.
Doug, can you comment on that?
No, that would be a Michael Mix. Yeah. Oh, they did? Did he go down and do that? Doug Guns.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Right. So I talked to Jerry. He's Public Works, and he told me that they had a diver come in and take the plate off at the end of the intake because he brought us the buoy that was attached to it. So as far as I know, that they're prepped and ready to open the valve if needed, but I don't know a time frame as far as what their plan is and when they might open it. So.
Yeah, I was a little confused because I thought it was the valve that had been damaged and they couldn't shut it off or something, or had stripped it when they tried to.
That was, what was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
They exercised it and then it wouldn't close.
Was that the valve, or then, but Brad
Yes.
was telling me recently, no, that was
It was the
standpipe.
Well, it's the stem. So that valve that's in there, from my understanding, I've never seen it, is an old 1950s gate valve,
Uh-huh.
which is a solid chunk of metal that has a threaded shaft that goes down through the middle of it that they call the stem or whatever. And to open that gate valve, you twist the valve and it raises.
Twist
as
that
it
stem.
threads down, that metal plate goes up. And what
Okay.
they had done, because when they got to the top, was when they got it to the top, it jammed. Because
In the open
however
position.
it was
Yeah.
designed, I don't know all those specifics. I just know it jammed at the top on that gate valve, and they could not get it to go back down. That was the original problem. So Bo came out, put that plate on the end to stop the water flow.
This is inside the lake. He
Yes,
dove
in the
down.
water, yes.
The intake, yes.
Put the plate on the end of the valve, stopped the water flow. They got in there. They got the gate valve to release, dropped it back down.
So it was closed.
Yes,
So
and
we
then
had
they-
double protection.
Right.
Yeah.
They fixed the stem,
Mhm.
and then for some reason that plate got left out on the end of the intake out there.
Probably
And
because
so
it was cold or
The
something.
valve still, from my understanding, with everyone that I had talked with, the valve still works just fine
Uh-huh.
because they fixed the stem, which is that threaded part that goes down through it. So they could at any time open it. There was talk about repairing the valve, putting a bypass valve, putting a pump in, lots of different things, but I don't think anything ever got decided on any of that yet.
So we have money in the budget, or the city has money in the budget for a new valve. Is that correct?
That was my understanding, a bypass valve and a new valve, so that it had a redundant system like is on most other lakes that use water sources like ours, so that if one of the valves goes bad, you still have the other valve to work with, and you can repair one valve while using the other valve, so you have a redundant two-valve system.
Okay. That makes
And then there was talk about putting a pipe system over the top of the dam and just
Oh.
pumping it out.
Yeah.
But when the questions were asked, from my understanding, by the previous city manager to KDHE, and I think it was KDHE and the wildlife people, they don't want that because they believe it would cause more damage to the dam to do it that way.
Oh.
So it's safer to have the valve
Okay.
inlet out.
Okay. And so, as I have been advised by Brad, at this moment in time, they're not going to let water out of the lake, but that could change at any other moment in time.
Yes, that's my understanding. The rain helped out, so let's pray for more
Pray
rain.
for more. Pray for
And
more.
if we can get some more rain, yeah. Rock Creek's up again. Elm Creek's back up. Cedar Creek's back up. So there's no need for it now.
Uh-huh. Good.
My understanding is that those are all gravity fed. I think I talked with you about that.
Mhm.
They're gravity fed feeds out of those reservoirs. So if the water level in them drops too low,
But there's water down at the dam in the
Yeah.
river.
Yeah.
That's what we look for.
yes,
yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank
I
you,
have a question on that. Now, will they do regular going out and opening up, were they supposed to be doing maintenance or just checking that valve every so often to make sure that it is working properly?
I believe so. My understanding is that's what they were doing when it got wedged open last time, was testing the valve. Am I correct?
I think you're right.
Okay.
But how
I
often are they supposed to do that?
I have no information on that. We would have to relay that question back through the
Michael?
water department. That's probably a Michael Mix thing.
As far as I understand, all valves, like all city valves, as far as I know, are supposed to be exercised. Some have a 6-month rotation, some have a year rotation. It just depends. I know at the golf course we exercise all of our main valves at least twice a year.
Thank you. Thank you all. Any further questions? Thank you for that update, Matthew. Okay, under old business, I have a new item number 1 under there. I'm going to deviate from the agenda just a little bit. Doug, just stay there. Yeah.
I'm going to appoint myself a table.
Could we get an update on the improvements to 195th Street from our county commission representative?
Good morning. I was at last Tuesday's county commission meeting. I spoke with the road and bridge director manager, and he indicated to me that they would be starting this week. They had equipment breakdowns, they've had employee issues, they've had truck breakdowns, but he told me they would be starting this coming week. Tom has just verified that with me this morning prior to the meeting. They will be starting from the back to the front. They're going to attempt to disrupt folks as little as possible. It sounds like there's going to be a pilot vehicle because it's going to be definitely one lane while they do this. So
But that does make sense going from the back to the front, because then, yeah, the front.
Do you have contact with these people, Mark?
I have Eric's phone.
Okay.
I mean,
I was as a
Commissioner Harris.
as a city thing. If you don't mind asking them if they could not come in off of 2nd Street and drive down Horton, if they could either go the back way around or if they can come out to 69 Highway and go down and around. They've been driving, according to the people living on Horton, they've been driving their big double axle dump trucks across that bridge out there, which according to the sign and individuals in town is not rated for that truck travel, and Horton is not a truck route. So if they could go one way or the other, that would be greatly appreciated.
So coming in from the west, coming to the east, they're coming over 2nd Street. Is that what you're saying? Or they're going out from Horton over 2nd Street to the
They've been
west?
they've been
Either way.
shortcutting there next to Bridal where Bridalville Park was, and then
Okay.
coming up and then heading out Horton, out that edge of town, which is a quicker route for them from where the mineral place is. It's the fastest route, but it's not
Gotcha.
at all a truck route. So
Okay.
if they could please either go out 54 to 69 and then down and in on Indian, or if they want to go out the back way over to Uniontown and cut and come in that way.
I will bring that to their attention at next week's Tuesday's city commission meeting.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you,
Excuse
Mark.
me, county commission meeting. Yes.
Which hat? Yeah. That makes sense. We don't want our brand new Horton all.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking for an update on dumping behind the emergency spillway. I don't know if Tom can provide that, or Doug,
Yes,
or who.
At one time, somebody from Redfield dumped trash on our wood pile. I caught them and made them pick up their stuff. As my understanding on the wood pile, I've burned it, I believe, 5 times. Each year we burn it. It's a safety issue, in my opinion, for the people that live at the lake. If you live at the lake and you cut a few trees out of your yard, some branches, rather than burn it at your house, it's best to put it in our pile. It's also providing firewood for the campers. And I think that that's really important.
So your opinion is that the wood pile is a good thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting.
They've just now pushed it up. Randy just pushed it up this week to get ready to burn it. But I would assume they're going to wait a little bit, try to get some more rain.
That they're gonna cable off eventually, right?
No, this is up above that.
Is at the top of the hill.
As you're going around the curve on the west side,
Okay.
over to the right. Are there overhead lines there that need to be? Someone mentioned.
Yes, there's a power line that runs right there by the wood line, and that's when we push the pile. We usually push it away from the wood line
Uh-huh.
and
Or power
away
line.
from the power line as well. So that's what I instructed Randy to do, and that's what he did. So the plan, as far as I know from talking to Brad, is that they're going to get signs that say, lake resident dumping only or something equivalent to that, but there will be signs put up. I think our public works department's going to make those.
As long as it's no trash. I mean.
Right. Now the dumpster is gone now. So usually in the wintertime, the dumpster that we started putting out there last year, we had put out there again this year at the pavilion there by the beach area. This time of year we have.
Dean, I just have a quick question. Will those signs say what specifically can be put in that file?
That's a very good question. Yeah. I mean, we'll make sure that it says brush only or something equivalent to that.
Dean, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good idea, or what's your thought on
I don't know. A lot of people don't there. I don't particularly like driving past it and looking at it, but you know, it's not the end of the world.
I hadn't thought of the firewood aspect for the campers, but that is a positive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do see people. You'll see people over on the weekend pulling stuff out. I mean, I don't think it's that big a deal. I just think we just have to control who puts what in there.
So policing it is going to be the biggest issue. You know, Tom's out there, and then my staff member Randy is out there, and then you know some of my staff is out there from time to time. But we're not out there all day every day. So
Sure, right.
you know,
no
there's
one
no
is.
gate,
Yeah.
there's no fencing, there's none of that like the city dump has. So
Well, I'm thinking maybe we adopt a wait and see, and if it gets out of hand, then we rethink it. And what do you guys feel?
I mean,
The question that I have too is, because you not had tree trimmers come over and they just haul their stuff away. Will they be permitted to dump their trees there?
so I mean that would be this whole thing with the brush pile is going to be a commission decision to tell us, you know, hey, stop doing the pile, keep the pile going. As far as right now,
Absolutely,
we're going to
yeah.
keep it going because that's the way it's been. But I did see a tree company dumping on the pile, and I did ask them, hey, you know, where did you get these materials, things like that? And he said he was, you know, trimming trees at a lake resident's property, and that lake resident asked him to dump on the pile. So some of the dumping that you see may be from lake residents having work done by commercial entities,
Yeah.
and they're telling them to dump on the pile. So
And we're saying that's okay.
that is, as far as I know, that's okay, unless I'm told otherwise.
Okay, and we'll just Matthew.
My only question would be, number one, is there a better location for the brush pile? Does anyone have any ideas on where a better location would be that would still be accessible?
I would say the only other, in just my opinion, there was a better location, but that lot was sold. Just
I was not part of that decision.
no, I mean, where the proposed RV parking area is, there's that lot behind it. There's, you know, near Quarantino Park, there's, you know, areas out there we could put it in, and that would be on the other entrance. But
Right.
you know,
So the whole firewood for the camper thing would be
right.
null and
I mean,
void.
it's yes and no. I mean, we do trim trees out there, and we do cut dead trees down. We could just leave a pile of firewood size, you know, at the pavilion or something like that. I mean, there are things to do. There's just, you know, labor involved in moving things, and you know,
No, I was just curious if the concern with some residents out there is that they see it all the time and it's a nuisance to them. I was just asking if the Lake Advisory Board could come up with some ideas on what might be a better location, and then you could present those to the commission. And if we can find a better location that solves all the issues and gets it out of the line sight of the people who don't like looking at it, then that would be a great compromise for everyone.
And then the other compromise with that would be that if it's not on city property, then it's becomes a lake resident pile and under their purview and jurisdiction, other than saying, hey, the pile's on city property, the city needs to do
Yeah,
something about it.
right.
So there is that.
Okay,
So if y'all could discuss that amongst yourself
we
and
will.
just brings, thank you.
Okay, I have a number of follow-up items from last meeting that Harold had brought forward. So I'm really not sure. I guess maybe we can table most of these, except Matthew, if you would just run down through 1 through 5 there. And if you would have any updates on these, we were looking to Harold. I had not heard from Harold that he
Yeah,
would.
it seemed very odd.
As far as number one goes, we had received the information from Harold, and we're looking at having our city employees do the comprehensive water testing. And I believe that is something we are still currently looking at.
So that's probably 1
That's
through.
number one, yes. The Bath and Merrick survey, we had reached out to a couple of universities One of those is no longer doing it. The other may still be able to do it, but we have not received a
Okay.
yes or a timeline or anything for it.
Okay.
As far as those being budgeted line items in the budget this year, they are not in the budget for this year.
Okay.
The environmental study on the lake, again, we had reached out to a couple of entities to help take a look at that. To my knowledge, I have not received information back that we have received a good answer one way or the other.
Okay.
A moratorium on the create. The current commission, unless things change, has not talked about selling any land lots currently. That hasn't been talked about, I believe, since back
All right.
earlier in the year.
So in essence, there's
Yeah,
sort of a
I'm not going to say
moratorium in
that there's
place.
been a declared moratorium.
right.
I just know that it's not
Yeah.
not on the current radar of the items taking place.
Yeah. More. Okay.
We received a copy of the ordinance at the last meeting that had been written up. I don't have it with me this morning
And this is the one for numbers.
to be mounted on the
The boat
starboard
permit
side.
is mounted
Yes.
and not just held in the boat.
Correct. And we received a copy of that new ordinance. I've read through it. I like the way it looks. Did y'all receive a copy of it at all? Anybody on the lake board? If not, Lisa, can you get that out to everyone on the lake board for us? If you would all take a look at that, see if you have any questions about it,
Okay.
and then get back to me. And if we all like it, I personally like it because I agree 100% that it would be so much easier on Tom and everyone else if a sticker is mounted on the, I know they don't like to mess up some of their pretty boats, but it would make it so much easier on our employees to be able to just sightline identify.
Yep.
And so I'm in favor of moving that ordinance forward if you guys like the way it looks.
Thank you. And I the next item here is update on sale of additional lake lots, and I think you've already given us that. All right. Next is public comments. Byron, do you have anything? You're our only public today. Okay.
So, I guess can I talk under public
Yes.
comments?
Yes, you may.
So if some of you weren't aware, we did do fish harvest yesterday. Don George and the Department of Natural Resources Fish and Game came down yesterday and took all the fish out of the rearing pond. So if you haven't seen it, there is no water in the rearing pond now, and the siphon line has been turned off, and so all of that is over. Most of the fish were moved. Some were restocked back into Fort Scott Lake. Some were taken to Gun Park, and the remainder, as far as I know, were taken to the two lakes or the ponds out at the college. So if anybody has any questions about the rearing of the fish and things like that, you know.
Yep. The only thing I saw in that pond was it otter? Is it an otter that eats the fish? I
Yes.
saw an otter swimming in it one day, and I thought, holy cow, there goes the fish. Yeah.
Is the otter still there? My son loves otters.
Fish? Yeah, we had we're estimating between 5 and 5.5 tons of catfish. So most on average they were about a pound and a half. About that big.
Wow, are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. Right, and that's the thing. We talked to Don George about some of the predators for the fish. We had blue herring there most of the year, the otter, turtles, things like that, and they don't do anything about it because it's just the natural habitat,
Yeah.
and that's just the way it is. So.
The way it is. Doug, while you're here, if you don't mind, could you give us an update on any work or construction or anything that's being done in the camping area?
So as far as improvements go, that we've been talking about for a while now, I've not been given any commission direction or city manager direction as far as improvements. We will be, trimming trees and doing, brush clearing and working on the banks and things like that over the winter like we normally do. We'll be burning the brush pile. A lot of times, like we did last year, we burn off the dam, the tall grass on the edge by the water because it's a little safer for, so we're not weed eating and things like that. And we'll do our normal winter maintenance unless otherwise advised.
So, direction.
We got a quote. I believe Doug provided that for us to get water over to that area was around $65,000.
That was just for the meter set right there
Yep.
where the brush pile is.
And then to get the electric in wasn't going to be that much. So
And again, the electric was just to a pole near
Right.
the RV area, and that's it was just a meter set.
Yeah.
It wasn't, you know,
The rest of the story.
right. It
But
was-
it's what
Then-
we have to do to start.
Right. And then
I mean,
we-
that's the infrastructure is the most important
Right.
thing to move forward.
we had another company that came and did some rock sawing for the city up near one of the storm sewer projects that we have going on in town. So they put out a bid. We had it bid by two different companies. The lowest bid that I believe ended up doing the work was around $12,000 to rock saw, and I believe that was around 1,000 feet.
No.
So I'm just using that
That's
as
amazing.
a as a mindset point. So if we get the water ran over and we get the electric ran over, then if we could decide exactly where we want to put those RV lanes,
I think that's mapped out, isn't it?
it is.
All
Yep.
of it is. Yes.
Yep.
If everyone's in approval of that, and
Yeah.
that's
We are, I
Okay.
know. So,
we
yeah.
can.
Yeah.
If that's good, I can bring that to the commission. We can tell them we want to go ahead and get the electric and the water ran over.
that would be wonderful.
Okay.
That
And
would
we'll
be
move
wonderful.
forward on
Sorry, you threw some numbers out.
what I saw on a project that was done here in town. Somebody did some rock sawing. I believe it was $12,000 for 1,000 feet of rock saw. But if we could contact that company,
Yeah.
Let's see if we can piggyback that bid.
yes,
Then we would have
and
to
ask
bid
them
it
if
out.
they would be willing to head out there and do some. Then we could get the channels cut to drop those lines in and do all that as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. And if we could make that kind of progress this calendar year, even, that would be
Okay.
fabulous.
Did you
Yeah.
throw out the numbers for the water meter and the
So,
power to the pole?
The water meter from rural water was 68,000.
Yeah, it was like,
But I've already contacted them because that was over a year ago
Yeah. So
to make sure that, you know, pricing of pipe and things like that have changed to see if that was still an accurate quote. So they haven't gotten back to me yet on a requote,
we'll
but
nudge them.
so their season, you know, their busy time is starting to slow down. So I asked them about a month ago right before the last meeting.
I was going to say, I think you had asked them last meeting,
Mhm.
and they still haven't responded.
No, they haven't responded. I've made phone calls to them, but
Right.
I guess
right.
they were busy with things, and
Gotcha.
I will contact them again.
All right. Any questions of Doug? Yes, Mr. McCoy.
Throughout the year, a comment came up from a number of folks in regards to increasing the swimming area. So I don't know if we've made any provisions in the city to secure more buoys, more rope and such so that we can increase the swimming area there. Has that been brought up to you, sir?
It hasn't been brought up to me directly by anybody. I heard it talked about a couple times. It's just a matter of we do have more swim rope. We could make the area bigger. It's totally up to you whether, you know, now there would be really not too much cost involved. It'd just be a couple buoys and some more chain and anchors and things like that. But if we were to increase the size of the beach,
That's a cost.
you know, then there would be costs and
But it was just
some
the
labor
swim
involved.
area. Bring it out. Yes.
Right, to make it deeper because
Yeah,
it's
because
as
the
the water
water's-
goes
yeah.
down now, it's probably ankle deep or less.
Yeah.
I know when we took the swim rope out, we almost walked and got the buoys
Yeah.
because the boat bottomed out where the buoys were.
I think that's a great idea. I guess. Do we need a motion to?
No, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
I think there should be some information to it before we just say, oh, we're going to extend it out 12 feet, 10 feet. Is it 20 feet? What's the appropriate amount?
I have no idea.
Exact number of buoys. I know throughout the year I assisted Tom a couple times and we had to move some buoys because it happens because of the winds and the current and stuff. So, but just, you know, they're minor things, but if they're not on the radar, they're not going to get done.
The other thing, depending on how big you make it, that channel that people
Right.
traverse in there, it's going to
Narrow it
change
down.
boat traffic as far as that area goes.
Right. As long as boats can get in and out, I think that's. And the water's deeper over on the other side. Is that correct?
To my understanding, yes.
Yeah. So we would just be moving the traffic out a little more. I mean, I don't think it has to be giant. I'm open for. I have no idea. Open for suggestions.
We do have another rope
Mhm.
at the airport.
Yeah, there's more the barrier roping. There's
Mark,
more of
what
it,
do you
so-
have thoughts on it? Does it need to be go out 20 more foot? I don't know.
I believe it would do that because it's about 100 foot long. And that wouldn't require anything on the beach
Yeah.
at all. It would all be in the water.
We had a lot of good hot weather, and you go out there on a Saturday and a Sunday, there's a lot of folks in there.
Mhm.
And then just because that's what people will do, they're sneaking out under it. And of course, there's people swimming off the dock where they shouldn't be. So just to give them more space over there so that there is more room to swim in the swimming area.
Mhm.
I think it's a combination of safety. You can never prevent everything.
No,
It's just a
absolutely.
matter of creating a little greater opportunity. And I think going out 20 feet would be the maximum, and that Tom can observe on that over the time period after it's extended out there. I think the key is to have buoys. We already know it's a no wake zone, so anybody that goes in there to
Right.
go fishing
Has to
is
be
going to have their
idle-
most
idle
people
speed
trolling
only.
motors
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Unless Tom and I are responding to an emergency and we're going 9 miles an hour.
Yeah. For sure.
Maybe
So
10.
we now this topic of discussion is reflected in the minutes. So it will be there for us to refer back to. Is that adequate, or do you want us to?
That would be a Matthew question, whether he thinks it needs to come before commission or direction come from the city manager or assistant city manager
If the
to be official.
Jeff, do you have a comment on that?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. I was here last time 2 years ago, and this is my first advisory board meeting through technology. Right now, I'm back. I'm the interim city manager. I don't know who all the players are. I didn't hear who's here and who's not. So if somebody could just tell me who they are, so I know, introduce themselves to me, that would be great.
I'm Deb McCoy.
And
Oh, I know you, Deb.
and Deb is the city representative to the Lake Advisory Board.
Who is?
Deb. There's a city representative and a county representative by ordinance, and Deb is the city representative.
Okay, thank you.
Shane Wood.
Who else is?
Shane Wood.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Shane Wood.
Shane Wood.
Okay, thank you.
Shane is by ordinance the part-time representative from the east side, meaning he lives at the lake part-time.
Okay, great.
Better.
I can hear you.
Dean Stryler's on the phone. Dean Stryler is the part-time representative from the west side by ordinance.
Hi, Steve. Thank you.
Shane Johnston.
Shane Johnston is a full-time representative from the east side by ordinance.
Okay.
You know Doug.
Morning, Jeff. This is Mark McCoy. I'm the county representative on the Lake Advisory Board.
Very good. I didn't recognize you with your hat. I can't see very well. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm working today for the parade that for safety patrol out here. We want to make sure the kids are safe for the Halloween parade.
You're a great volunteer.
And Mark is the liaison to the county commission. We do have a county representative, David Stewart, who's not with us today.
Okay.
And then Matt, you know Tom.
I'm Matthew Wells, City Commissioner.
Hey, Commissioner.
And-
I know everybody else.
And Matt is the liaison to the city commission. So we have a liaison.
Very good.
Yeah. To
Very
the,
good.
And I'm
If I-
Tom
if-
Graham,
if I
the Lake
could have
Patrol.
Just a few comments. Thank you very much.
sure.
I just wanted to comment. From a standpoint of what's the most efficient and effective way to operate, my observation. There are several items that are listed down there as old business, and I know you want answers and things like that. And the best way, as I see it, is for the staff under the city manager to get you those answers and to work to get those answers and then provide a report back to the commission with recommendations. So it's just more effective that way. And pardon me, but a city commission meeting, it's very difficult for them to actually solve problems there at a meeting. But in my short time being here, I know that there's been, it's been on the commission, and Mr. Martin, is Mr. Martin here today?
No, he's absent today.
I texted
Pardon?
Harold. Harold thought the meeting was in 2 weeks, and he's in Texas at his sister's birthday.
Okay, and so I'm not trying to be rude, but just from an efficient, we can give a report back on those. We can work, get all those answers, and report back to you all and the commission, and with potential recommendations. That's the most efficient and effective way. It's just very difficult for at each meeting to try to solve, for the commissioners to try to solve problems sitting right around the table. And I know that, well, an observation is I don't think that staff has been very effective or efficient to address those issues. So that's my goal. And that's my comment. I've got some other comments, but do you have any questions on that?
I do, and I so appreciate your comment, Jeff, and I absolutely agree with you. Unfortunately, historically, the commission has, without notice to lake residents, made decisions that were highly volatile, I guess, to and onerous to the lake residents. And it started with unbeknownst to anyone, the selling of 17 acres of contingent property just right across the road from lake residents without notice really to anyone for doing that. And so we've been playing defense. I will say that. We've been playing defense for a while now.
Okay, and I appreciate that. For every action, there's a reaction, and there needs to be time for people to know, communication is very, very key, and it works both ways. And so I know we've got, sometimes by just taking quick action at a meeting, it has repercussions. And so that's the charge of the city manager and staff to look at those that situation, and also to provide adequate notice so that people can have comments. So I appreciate what you say. It works both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we appreciate that too. I might give you an example. I was out of town, and just last week, my phone started just blowing up with, hey, I just heard on the radio that they're going to drop the lake. And
Yeah.
I would have thought that as chair of this board.
Sure, absolutely. And that's good. That's correct. I understand. Yeah.
And then Matthew's phone started blowing up.
And so
because I blew it up.
It would be very helpful for us from a communication standpoint to know who the point person is. And if that point person is the chairman, that would be great. That would be great. That helps us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and in addition, Jeff, I do have emails for really almost everyone at the lake, I think, so that I can,
Great.
if I'm home, I can put out a notice to all the residents very quickly when something like that is about to occur.
That's tremendous. That's good to know.
But I would love to move to an advisory board and not someone who's not a group, not someone, but a group who feels that they have to monitor and be at every commission meeting. That's what we have Matthew for. I mean, he's our liaison. If he sees something that he knows is going to be important to us, and he's got a great feel for that now, I think.
Yeah.
I think he can let us know and he can keep us informed. That's my opinion. Don't think
That's
we need
right. That's great. The other, I have about 3 other comments. The other thing is, from a city standpoint, we're trying to be more effective on our communication. You know, there's so much social media and stuff, and this is a big community. Facebook is a big way to communicate. And in some cities, you have what's called a public information officer that monitors that. But Brad has done a great job of recently, and of when there's a rumor or something, to give a city position on that. I'm also looking at, you know, we have Jackson Huff that can do some of that as well, because rumors. There's a lot of rumors, and then somebody starts with a bad position. So we're attempting to monitor that to help the communication and eliminate any rumors. I wanted to talk about capital improvements in general from the city standpoint, but my observation, and from what was happening last time compared to what's going on now, our public works and all of those people, there's much better. They're very community minded, and Brad has done an excellent job of getting them on board. And so we're having, not only for the small projects, coordination and getting onto that and what the list is, but now one of the things for the commission and everyone is to do some planning on these projects, larger projects, and you all realize that it has to be coordinated. And so I heard today some capital projects that need to be plugged into the system, and obviously reported back and communicated through, Matt's here. So the capital improvements, as far as adequate planning and coordinating that with what's in the budget. The other thing, just as a side note, is we're working on trying to be transparent and stuff with the city's budget and their financial reporting. So that's kind of my comment on the capital. The other thing that I think that we should do is that what's the long-term relationship between the residents of the lake and the city. I'm a neophyte on all that. I've got some ideas, but it's a delicate balance between those things that are public versus those things that are private out at the lake. And so I think that it would be serve everyone if we had a long-term plan as far as where we're going, and perhaps I'm not sure if your organization is not a quote-unquote legal entity. Is that correct?
That is correct. And to address your previous comment, we have provided the city with a strategic growth plan. We put together a smart growth committee, and they do have that, and it's phased.
And possibly you all may want to look at establishing a not-for-profit or organization, and if that would occur, then we would have a quote-unquote intergovernmental agreement, or as far as how we move in the future. That's long-term, and if you have something long-term, if you could provide that, that'd be great. But that's just thinking about where are we going long term. So
Sure.
those are my only comments. Do you have any questions of me?
I don't believe so. I'm not seeing any.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to attend our meeting today, Jeff. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, next meeting.
Can I make a couple quick
Oh, absolutely.
question comments? One other item that Jeff didn't mention is that we are working on a possible text blast system where people would be able to get set up on a text line for people that receive text, and then as the city, we may be able to communicate to people through
Great
that
idea.
text.
Great idea.
Jeff or Brad is looking into that right now to see if we can piggyback off the one that the school system uses. So that will be something a little bit further. And then Jeff, as far as my understanding is, managers have the authority for projects under $5,000 if it's something that needs to be done, correct?
Well, that's my understanding.
Okay.
Yes.
So if directors do, and you're a director, correct? Okay. So if they were deciding to go ahead and expand the swimming area, that would be something that would be able to fall under Doug's purview to go ahead and expand the swimming area, because that would be a very small cost project, correct?
Yeah, and
Yes and no.
obviously, and Matt, you and I have talked about this. This isn't necessarily on the small projects, but you're absolutely right about that. It has to be coordinated with all of our resources. But from a capital planning standpoint, this is the time, if we're going to take bids or whatever, usually you get your most efficient and effective bids by working on those projects right now in the winter time, so you're set to go and hit those at the first of the year. On another side note, as far as communication and social media, and I'm still exploring, but we are looking at the ability for people to communicate through our website, pictures, problems, that sort of thing. You know, if you see a pothole, you can take a picture and send it, and we can react a lot quicker. But we are, and this is probably long term, but we are, you know, if we can concentrate on our web page and use our web page as far as communication, that would be good. So that's another thing, Matt, that we're looking at, including the text. Good.
So, and then I'll add to that, Matthew, the city's purchasing policy is $5,000 unless money needs to come from the lake fund, and that is a commission decision.
Okay.
Even if it's $1,
Okay.
I have to go before commission and ask their permission to spend out of the lake fund.
Okay. So then, as far as the rope around, if we want to expand the beach, then I guess you could just
As far
add
as
it to
my
the agenda.
understanding, we have enough rope. We have the buoys.
Okay.
It's really just a matter of staff extending it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we need commission approval
Okay.
or anything unless you wanted to take it to them as a informational thing that, hey, come next season when the swim area rope is, hey, we're putting it out a little wider if anybody has any problem.
Awesome. And were there, I thought at one of the last meetings y'all had mentioned something about one of the dock areas where the concrete was being underwashed. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, that's the main fishing area that's there by the main boat dock with the two, floating docks next to it. There's a big concrete area with a railing. So if you go out on the right-hand side dock and look back towards it, you can see where it's undermined quite a bit.
Okay.
But as far as fixing that, it's going to be a very large undertaking, and
Okay.
it would probably need to be contracted out.
Okay. Would that be something that you could send an email to Jeff, myself, and Brad, just so that we can add it to the talks about the capital improvements that need to take place?
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
And then I brought up, because I know a couple people had mentioned to me with the lake being down low, was repairing the boat ramp, the main boat ramp,
Okay.
which I think
Well, that was going to be, that was where I was going with the water being down right now. Are there any small projects that would be advantageous to be, because I'm not out at the lake that often, I'll be honest.
I'm actually go out there today.
Okay, and so if y'all, yeah, if y'all see something, I didn't know. My other one was going to be a question about the beach with the sand. Is there anything at all right now with the water being down that would be of a benefit for us to think about doing as the city while the water's down?
So if there is a drawdown done on the lake, a lot of boaters have said that now that the water is super low, that I guess their boats are catching on the boat ramp at the end of it. There on one side, there's trailers are catching on the end of it. Now, whether that needs to be extended based on, hey, it's like it's drought conditions more or less. Is it ever going to get low enough where we need to extend it out?
Right.
Yes, now would be the time to do that kind of stuff. The beach area, I mean, there's some things that we could do if you
But
want
there's a
to.
retaining wall that.
Right. So
you,
the fishing area that's undermined with the concrete, and all of that whether it needs to be done now or not, it's going to be a
huge.
Can we get a
project.
contractor in there? Can they get it done in time? Can we get the bid process done in time? Before, if we get into a rainy season or have heavy snows and then the water level comes back up, then we're going to be halfway through the middle of a project and maybe the water's too high again. So, and then do we have the funding for it? So, anything like that, there's no, as Jeff had said, there's no capital money in the lake budget, as far as my maintenance goes there's no line items for that kind of stuff. So it would have to come out of the lake fund. And do you want to take it out of the lake fund? That's supposed to be for improvements. This is not really an improvement. It's a maintenance issue. So there's that gray area that the commission would have to make that decision.
So that's a representation of having a capital improvement program for short-term, medium, and long-term projects, and seeing how and doing some planning, and we're trying to do a better job of that.
But
Thank you.
anyone else? Anyone on the board have any comments? Dean, you okay?
Oh, yeah, no comment.
Okay. Next meeting, I'm ready to go back to our quarterly meetings. Anyone else for that?
I'm fine with it. You're looking for
Dean, are you okay with quarterly meetings getting into the winter months?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Next meeting then January. January. Anyone have bad dates in January? Looking out that far. 3 months from now, January 28th. January 28th, throwing that out. All right. Next meeting. We're good?
Good.
January 28th, 9 a.m. City Hall. I'd like us to think about at that meeting the potential of electing a new chairperson. I think a year serving as chairperson is probably adequate, kind of like mayor. You do your term and then you turn it over to someone else. Next year will be my third and last year, so again, I'd like to see someone who's going on that extra year potentially in the role. Just food for thought. Just be thinking about it.
Can I
Yes.
ask you a question?
You may.
So I know this comes up with, I'm on the golf advisory board as well, and term limits have come up, like when their terms are up and when they need to renew, and if new people needed to be put on. I didn't know if there was a schedule as far as.
We did that a couple months ago.
But yes.
I was just pointing it out that maybe we need to look at it in January to see who might be coming up for renewal on their terms, things like that.
I didn't bring all my notes. We just sent that out here in the last couple months.
Yeah, the actual no more than 2 consecutive terms in our ordinance. So you serve either as a 4-year or a 3-year originally, the original board, and then after that it's 3-year terms, and no more than 2 consecutive terms.
So what I was getting at is, like, if anybody needed to be reappointed or if
Yeah.
their term was coming up for renewal, something like that.
Ours, there's several of us who end the end of 23 and 12 of 23, and then several others that end the end of 24. The original board, they set it up for some 4-year terms so that everyone wouldn't be leaving after 3 years.
Okay.
So, and then after that, it staggers.
Okay, so yeah, I just asked because the golf advisory board I think is every year. There's one's on for a year and some are on for 2 years, so it's a little shorter term.
Yeah, a little shorter.
We're attempting to update all of our boards. Lisa's involved in that and then using our advisory board. So Lisa is the one that should have that information to assist you. I know you got it, but so maybe we can give a report if it's not already done. Maybe you got it 2 months ago. You've got all that information then.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor, right hand? Unanimous. Thank you all very much for your giving of time. Matthew, thank you as always for being here.